Hello, this is Rick Dominique for T2P.TV, and I've had the good fortune to spend some time with Mr. Olin Stephens, famous yacht designer. Mr. Stephens, thanks for taking the time to speak with me.
I'm glad to talk with you.
I'd like to know, Mr. Stephens, what was your first exposure, or how did you get interested in sailing?
Well, it was right after the First World War. My family, my grandparents had a place on Lake George where there was no sailing at the time, but they had a small powerboat, and I knew the powerboats there. But after the First World War, when I would have been about, in 1918, I'd be about 10 years old, we moved to saltwater in the summer. I had a small camp at Cape Cod, and I picked up sailing there really as a family, although my father had some experience enough to help get us started.
You were a very accomplished sailor yourself. How do you think that contributed to your success as a designer?
Oh, I think it was very helpful. I could, my brother and I made a good team, and we could get in a boat that maybe hadn't done too well and demonstrate that she could do well. And it certainly didn't do any harm. At one time, I suppose I shouldn't boast, but one time I was a little afraid I was known as a good enough sailor, so it would be, my design part would be sort of discounted. I didn't have to be well designed to make a boat go well, but I was proud of that in a way, but it wasn't a problem. It didn't really mean anything.
That's great. Some of your designs, like Ranger and Vim and Intrepid, outperformed their competitors at the time. What do you attribute that great margin of success to?
Well, Intrepid, really in any case, a good name specifically, I think there was a good deal of luck involved, but the boats were in some way different. I believe that the numbers do make a great deal of difference, and that the successful boats were the result of having the right numbers, that is, the relationship of sail area to stability and sail area to displacement, and the right prismatic coefficient, which has to do with the fineness or fullness of the ends. And many cases I was just lucky in picking some good numbers, but I think the numbers counted. And one or two boats, Intrepid, for example, was really different from the other boats of our period in the arrangement of our keel and rudder, and it wasn't completely original, although it was original in the 12-meter class, and that certainly contributed to our success, and most of the later competing boats were built along the same pattern, and then they added the New Zealanders and Dutch, the Australians really added the kind of upside-down keel and wings, and that sort of combination was really a winner. That came along in a way I was lucky, because that came right after the last boat that I had been responsible for personally.
If you were to look back over your many designs, do you have a personal favorite?
Oh, well, I have, these are named two or three, because there were differences really in purpose. Intrepid being one, because she was outstanding as a 12-meter in the America's Cup and so forth. That was made her a favorite with me. And among the offshore boats, which are really what I was personally most interested in and brought me into the sailing, I liked the idea and the activity of offshore racing. And various boats of that type were successful, like Dorade, our own boat, a family boat, and Stormy Weather, which was an improvement on Dorade. And she was a lucky boat and a very good-looking boat. But the combination I like best of all is a later boat called Running Tide. It is a combination of a really good speed as a offshore racing boat and comfort and safety as a cruising boat. She combines the two, and she is one that's very easy to name as a favorite. Although it's I'm glad to say there were a number of good boats, and they were very much alike.
I'm sure it's hard to pick just a few.
That's right, it is.
How did the idea for the Shields design come about?
Well, that came largely about through Corny Shields himself, and he had a picture of what he wanted, and I think it was a good picture. I wouldn't have wanted to do it if I hadn't agreed that it was a good picture, but it was a little different from the run of boats that I had been working on, and she was patterned somewhat after a very successful 5.5 meter class boat of the period.
Right.
And she had some of Corny's ideas about appearance. She has a little more sheer than I would normally have given a boat, but it does make them pretty. Sometimes I think they're a little too pretty. And that they have turned out very well. The class has grown. People like them, and I like them. I think Corny was pleased with the results, and so it was a success. But it was not typical of what I would have done without a little bit of owner pressure, perhaps, to bring certain things about. And I'm pleased, though, that the class has worked out, and I'm happy to have been here for these preliminary couple of days. I would like to have been able to come for the total class, like to say hello and good luck to the whole gang, and it's fun to meet the sailors, and I'm have to do it this way this time, but I enjoy it, and I hope they get a lot of fun out of the boats. That's what it means the most to me, and I believe it's happening.
Well, the sailors at the Shields Nationals will be watching this, and I'm sure they'll appreciate your words.
Well, I hope they enjoy the boats, and I'm sorry I can't be here personally to see the results.
Well, thank you, Olin. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. This is Rick Dominique for T2P.TV. For more information on Olin's career, he has a book out, and the name of the book is?
It's All This and Sailing Too. It's published by the Mystic Seaport Museum, and it is, I believe, still in print.
Well, thank you again, Olin.
You're welcome.
Sometimes in excess of 29. It's boat Teton. Whoa! What a collision! 205 looks like they're coming right at us.
This is T2P TV, Sailing on Demand.